Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. After the prince gave his order, the circular dragnet began to narrow. The circle had a diameter of only 200 million miles, and over 100 million indigenous warriors were involved. For every undying warrior, there were 1,000 Sector Lord warriors. Although it might be unlikely that the Sector Lord warriors could stop Luo Feng, they could serve as informants. It would take Luo Feng 2 to 3 days to break through the circle, even if he traveled in sublight speed. There were 9 layers of the circle. The inner 8 layers were all Sector Lord warriors. Undying warriors and universe knight generals were in the outermost layer. "He won't be able to make it," said one of the generals. "He's already trapped," said the prince. "Being caught will be his only destiny." The Sector Lord warriors were tens of thousands of miles away from each other, as they started to advance toward Luo Feng. Their world energies were released and connected to 9 Remoteness world energies, sweeping across the entire area. No other races could hide themselves. The circle narrowed, and the warriors advanced. After around 3 hours, a Sector Lord warrior flying at high speed suddenly stopped, looked down at the ground, and cried out, "Another race. It's the intruder of another race." Bang! The dry land was torn apart, and a shadow in silver armor shot up swiftly, emanating a powerful force. Go! The Sector Lord warrior rushed to catch up with him, but he was too slow in comparison. Dozens of Sector Lord warriors started chasing Luo Feng from all directions, yet they could only watch that silver-armored and silver-winged shadow rush toward the outside of the circle. "He won't be able to make it. We only make up the innermost layer of the circle. There are 9 layers of us." The Sector Lord warriors started to retreat back to their positions. Meanwhile, the warriors in the northern part of the circle had stopped advancing. The 2nd to 8th layers of Sector Lord warriors started to go after him. Zoom! A silver-armored, silver-winged shadow was absconding straight through the Sector Lord warriors. "He is fast," commented one warrior. "So fast," agreed another. Undying fighters had already gathered in the outermost layer. The Sector Lord warriors in the inner 8 layers were trying to locate the intruder, which could help the great beings in the outermost layer congregate beforehand at the crucial position. From the 1st layer to the 9th layer, the silver-armored and silver-winged shadow flew for almost 30 minutes. Almost 800 undying warriors were split into 3 teams, and were ready to fight. "He's flown through the 8th layer," one reported. "He'll arrive soon. Everyone needs to be extra careful," said a general. "This one is extraordinarily fast, and based on previous intelligence, even the head of our race can't catch up with him. One-on-one combat is out of the question. Each sub-team is going to besiege him." 30 minutes was enough for the undying warriors to fly hundreds of millions of miles away. All the undying warriors, scattered across hundreds of millions of square feet, had gathered, almost 800 undying warriors. The prince stood at the side of the circle. "He flew in that direction." The prince shook his head. "It's a pity I can't fight him. I hope he's strong enough to preserve 20 or 30% of his godly body under the attack of 800 undying warriors of my race. Then I can finally glimpse him." "Your Highness, this intruder is extraordinary," the lanky universe knight general said respectfully. "He won't escape being beleaguered by 800 of warriors of our race, but he can certainly survive." Light flashed through the prince's eyes. He could see everything through synchronous transfer of the virtual universe. "Begin," he commanded. 3 armies. Almost 800 undying warriors. "The intruder has arrived," the most senior warrior of the 800 undying warriors announced. Then it gave the order. 9 Remoteness joint attack. All the undying warriors raised their sturdy right arms and howled. Their arms started to burn, and undying power flashed in the form of bloody, red light. The visible red flow of air was primed, swirling above each of the undying fighters. The airflow formed blurry figures of blades above every undying warrior's right arm. Over top of the 200 undying warriors, 200 blurry red blade figures formed a single, giant bloody blade. A giant, bloody blade was concentrated above each of the three armies of undying warriors, attracting blood-red energy from throughout the world, thus empowering them to reach the power limit of undying warriors. Zoom. The silver-armored and silver-winged figure showed up, saw the undying warrior team afar, and began fleeing in the exact opposite direction in a state of panic. Unfortunately, there were now teams of undying warriors in every direction. He could only retreat. The order was given. Attack. 800 undying warriors waved their right arms at the same time. The giant, bloody blades shot out. Nothing could stop them. The three enormous, bloody blades pursued the silver-armored and silver-winged figure. The figure emanated incredible force in its attempt to flee, but even his speed couldn't compare to the bloody blades. The bloody blades flew hundreds of thousands of miles, and when they touched each other, they exploded simultaneously. Boom. The power was so vigorous it was as if it had come from the self-destruction of a super great being. The force swept into the silver-armored, silver-winged shadow. A shrill, painful scream was heard as the figure was annihilated beneath the great power of the bloody blades. In the aftermath, the 800 warriors gathered and inspected the area with their undying power. The intruder died, they realized, leaving behind only an ordinary undying weapon and a world ring. The prince received the news instantly. Dead, said the prince, surprised to hear that the undying fighter from another race, who was faster than his captain-level undying warriors, even in a world where their race was empowered while other races were suppressed, had been killed so quickly. He had expected him to be a force to be reckoned with. Your Highness, our undying warriors were only the catalyst of the 9 Remoteness joint attack, the bulky universe knight explained respectfully. The world energies on our side played a major part. It's not surprising that the intruder was killed. If there are enough undying warriors to stimulate adequate world energies, even universe knights can be killed. Check that world ring, the prince commanded through the virtual world. After a short while, he got the report. There were no valuables in the world ring. Those ordinary objects inside were just trash to the prince. The prince shook his head. It's a fake. The dead intruder must have been an imposter. If he can move faster than a captain-level undying warrior of my race, he must be exceptional outside of this world. How could someone of such stature have so few possessions? Perhaps running is his only skill, the lanky universe knight answered. Inspect it again, ordered the prince. All undying warriors, back to your position. Keep narrowing the dragnet. 800 undying warriors began to retreat. It took them 30 minutes to gather just now, and it would take them nearly 30 minutes longer to return to their positions. A full hour had been wasted because of that silver-armored, silver-winged shadow. 2 hours later. The intruder is found. The intruder is found. What? Again. Isn't he dead? The prince in charge of the circle laughed. I knew it. We can't underestimate that intruder from another race. He must have been using his undying slaves, who took on his appearance to lure us into his trap. Your Highness, what should we do now? This one might not be the real intruder, either. Both of the universe knights looked at the prince. They had some ideas, but the prince was aristocratic. They generally deferred to his judgment. Follow the original plan, said the prince. We need to be careful with every other intruder that appears, the prince said confidently. We could inadvertently let him get away if we don't. But it's going to slow down the entire process, spoke up one of the universe knights. I'd rather go slowly than miss one, said the prince with a cruel scowl. Kill every intruder you find. Don't let any of them get away. The real one will not escape. In the wilderness. As Luo Feng hid, he thought about his plan. He frowned. As the prince had presumed, both of the intruders were imposters, undying slaves sent by Luo Feng. Now, all of his undying slaves were traveling throughout the circle, attracting a good number of undying warriors to gather so he could kill them in the end. It would take the undying warriors 1 to 2 hours to gather each every time. Fortunately, several of my slaves are soul masters, who have dozens or even over 100 slaves of their own, who also have slaves. Luo Feng wasn't concerned with those slaves. They were not necessarily faster than the indigenous sector lords, yet if they burned their undying power, they would be more than 1,000 times stronger, making them far stronger than sector lord warriors. One undying slave after another walked to his death. And they kept stalling time. Quick, 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 Luo Feng said, still anxious. The slaves I send out only slow down one side of the circle, while the other 3 armies are still advancing fast. I need to slow down all 4 sides. Almost 100 slaves will be needed to stall them one more day, Luo Feng thought. Undying slaves are useful for God country transportation as bait. I can't waste them recklessly like this. Luo Feng looked up at the sky. Moshe Body was using his talent technique, domain deep in the bloody airflow over his head, drawing closer and closer. Come on, Luo Feng muttered, his stomach in knots. Hurry. My escape depends on whether Moshe Body can get here before they finish narrowing the circle. His original plan had been to ask the slaves to escape so that the undying warriors in the outermost layer of the circle could gather together, after which he could break free. After giving the plan a second thought, he decided it was unlikely to succeed. The circular dragnet was delicately formed. There were 9 layers, and the last layer served almost like the teeth of a massive gear, with some of the undying warriors distributed in faraway areas as sentries. Even if most of the warriors were attracted by his ruse, a few would still remain behind as sentries, tracking in turns. This made it easy for them to block Luo Feng from escaping for 1, or even 2 hours. If my luck runs out, I'll run into a universe night, thought Luo Feng. Then I'll be doomed. The safest way is to ask Moshe Body to do the job, he muttered under his breath. He's the best at disguising and breaking free. Luo Feng gazed nervously at the sky. A massive quantity of bloody air had gathered in the sky above 9 Remoteness world. Even universe knights couldn't venture in this place, the forbidden area of 9 Remoteness world. However, Moshe Body teleported through it, his body flashing in the bloody air time and time again, as he advanced toward the world below. I have to make it. As Moshe Body rocketed through the layer of air, the giant circular dragnet searching for Luo Feng was steadily narrowing. A 39th one. Ha ha, the prince said, grinning. I told you that foreign invader is exceptional. How can an ordinary great being summon so many undying slaves? Your Highness, your intelligence is unquestioned, complimented one of his generals. It has almost been entertaining watching these undying slaves disguising themselves to try to get away, said the prince. I especially enjoyed the undying slave, who hid another slave inside his world ring, and the one in the world ring started to flee when the undying slave carrying it was killed. Or the 3 slaves trying to strike different areas of the same defensive line all at once. Unfortunately for him, the prince added confidently, my 100 million warriors won't let him run off. That was surely his final gambit, the lanky universe knight said. Soon, he will be in an impasse, the other universe knight added. The prince nodded. The circle has narrowed to half its original size, and we have adequate warriors now. Half of the warriors shall follow the original plan, while the other half start to advance regardless of whether meeting any intruders or not. I need them to scan the whole place as fast as possible. Fierceness flashed across the prince's eyes. Then even if the intruder sends his slaves, he can't slow my warriors from advancing. Both of the universe knights nodded. Indeed, as the circle being narrowed, the number of indigenous warriors soon appeared intimidating. With an order, half of the sector lord warriors and undying warriors started to dash inward. No. Luo Feng, hiding in the wilderness, was stunned. He knew what was happening, thanks to the slaves he'd sent. They disregard my slaves and start to charge in, he said. What should I do? What should I do now? For the first time, Luo Feng grew fearful. Based on his previous calculations, he had abundant time. The only problem was how many undying slaves he would waste. But now, the undying slaves weren't able to slow down their advance, which meant big trouble. Come on. Luo Feng looked up at the bloody air in the sky. Hurry up. The dragnet was divided into an outer circle and an inner circle. Warriors in the outer circle were still following the original plan. Those in the inner circle, however, raced in, heedless of the intruder's slaves. Onward! Onward! Charge! Cried the army. One undying slave after another rushed out and broke from the circle easily. Barely any warriors even tried to stop them. After a day, tens of millions of warriors in the inner circle finished gathering. Your Highness, we've inspected every inch of the circle, said the lanky general. Follow my orders, said the prince. The inner circle will start to expand and get close to the outer one. At the same time, if anyone runs into any other race, kill it. No exceptions. The prince gave the order, and the circle shrank even smaller. The warriors were more concentrated than ever. Luo Feng was stuck in a trap. A pincer maneuver. Luo Feng clenched his teeth. I'll fight to the very end and squeeze the last bit of time for my Mosha body. It'll take him around 3 hours and 17 minutes to arrive, and I must make use of the time. Although that almighty 9 Remoteness Master owed Primal Chaos City Leader a favor from 9 Remoteness Master was not to be spent frivolously. Luo Feng wouldn't use it unless he absolutely had to. As long as I can escape from the junior ones, 9 Remoteness Master will be too proud to attack me, Luo Feng thought. I've never heard of 9 Remoteness Master attacking an heir. He waved his hands, and 6 undying slaves appeared. They saluted Luo Feng and said, Master of my master. Follow my orders, Luo Feng said. Yes. All of the slaves took on the shape of Luo Feng and departed, following Luo Feng's command. Luo Feng sighed. He felt like he was going crazy. Pincer maneuvers and killing all the enemies at the same time was a good idea, but the time that elapsed was now insignificant compared to their steady advance toward Luo Feng. It wouldn't be long now. Your Highness, 2 circles will meet soon, and the other race won't be able to make it after that. The 2 universe knights were both looking forward to the result. The prince nodded mildly with a smile on his face. Like a rat in the trap. This was the final struggle. The undying invader's struggle pleased the prince. You really don't want to die, do you? The prince thought. Otherwise, you won't be putting up such a fight, knowing you're in a dead end. Alas, you'll be in my hands in the end, he muttered, and I'll see what skills you've got. The prince was eager for this moment. He hadn't had this much fun in his long life. Luo Feng looked up at the sky, and his fear turned to joy. A figure in the sky teleported and kept blinking. He dove down immediately and stopped. It was Mosha body. It finally arrived. Luo Feng felt relieved and went into Mosha body's world ring. Mosha body shook, and black air surged. It transformed into an indigenous undying warrior with a red body and bloody horns. Even its aura was copied from one of the undying warriors that had chased Luo Feng when he first stepped into 9 Remoteness world. For more than a day, I performed that talent technique more than 100 times, said Mosha body. I'm so exhausted. Mosha indigenous warrior's pressure was finally mitigated. He was too tired from the past day, as he hadn't been able to rest in the slightest. Even a universe knight couldn't stand such weariness. Luo Feng had an unbending will, and together with his desire for survival, he was able to make it. It'll take me around 11 minutes, and the inner encirclement will arrive sooner. Mosha indigenous warrior smiled. Unfortunately, you're late. Warriors in the inner circle and outer circle were pretty close, and they squeezed in to complete the final stage of the chokehold. Up in the sky, the prince floated, overlooking the boundless land. All the warriors bowed to the prince to show respect when they saw him. Ha ha! The final strangle. Each inch of this space will be occupied by my warriors soon. Let's see where he runs. The prince was overjoyed. Yet after only 20 minutes. Your Highness, my team has already searched everywhere, one of his generals reported. We didn't find that powerful other race. My team didn't find the other race either, reported another. We didn't find him, said the third. The generals reported to the prince immediately. What? How? The prince shouted at the generals in the virtual world. Your Highness, we found 83 suspects while searching, and our undying warriors jointly stimulated 9 remoteness world energies, which can kill even a pinnacle emperor. Perhaps the undying other race is already dead. Yes, Your Highness. We found a suspect, too. He's powerful and left lots of valuables after falling. He might be the one we're looking for. He must be that one, then, agreed another general. Reports from the 9 generals further infuriated the prince. No, that can't be him, the prince roared. The earliest report says this guy is even faster than a captain-level undying warrior. He's no ordinary great being. But we didn't find any other races. Go search. Find him at all costs. Yes. Yes, sir. The 9 Universe Knight generals could only comply with the furious prince's order. However, no matter how carefully they inspected the circle made by their armies, they couldn't find Luo Feng. Of course you can't find me, thought Mosha Body, disguised as an indigenous undying warrior. I'm one of you now. As the 100 million warriors continued searching under the order of the infuriated prince, Mosha Body flew far away. Each warrior was responsible for one area. The same rule applied to Mosha Body's indigenous warrior form. But instead of searching, he simply flew farther and farther away without turning back. No matter how fiercely the prince roared, none of the warriors could find Luo Feng. In the end, the prince reluctantly ordered the warriors to go back to their original positions. Mosha indigenous warrior was in no rush. With Mosha Body, I can conceal my aura and change my identity, he thought. They won't be able to find me. Besides, even if they find me, my talent technique, domain, can escape from even Universe Knights. Mosha Body was confident for a reason, as Universe Knights couldn't teleport themselves in 9 Remoteness world. The great beings couldn't teleport themselves, but Mosha Body could perform his talent technique domain. Who could possibly catch up with Mosha Body? Mosha Body flew in the sky for a long time, eventually coming across some indigenous warriors on his way, but none of them suspected him. They had no reason to suspect anything out of the ordinary. He looked away. A quiet indigenous city, he said. There isn't even a wall around it. There were plenty of buildings outside the city, where lived lots of indigenous creatures with red bodies and bloody horns. The only wall was one towering one separating an inner portion of the city from the rest of it. Luo Feng presumed that some seniors and great beings lived in the inner city. Luo Feng walked calmly through 9 Remoteness world, a world filled with creatures looking for him. Many indigenous creatures lived in the buildings around him, and all of them had red bodies and bloody horns. Some were babies that only reached Luo Feng's knees, running around on the ground. Some of the older children were already fighting. The babies are at the Star Traveler level, and adults are automatically sector lords, Luo Feng thought, looking around. Almost all the indigenous creatures at normal height were sector lords. No wonder there were so many sector lords chasing me. This indigenous race is indeed powerful. Much more powerful than the Golden Horned race. It might be qualified as one of the most powerful races in the universe. Suddenly, he heard a voice. 3 indigenous babies were flying and frolicking. They flew quickly with their Star Traveler level power, and those small, bloody horns were almost cute. I was born in Ancestral Sea. You should regard me as your leader. You're indeed more talented since you absorbed the essence and were born in the Ancestral Sea, but that doesn't mean you can be undying. We were born in the Royal Sea, but we're still stronger than you. You don't want to obey me? Then I'll beat you until you do. Do you think we're scared of you? The 3 babies continued assailing one another with threats as they frolicked. Luo Feng thought to himself, they look like babies, but they're naturally intelligent, like golden horned beasts. Perhaps they can rival human teenagers. Born in the Ancestral Sea. Born in the Royal Sea. Absorbed the essence in the Ancestral Sea. Thoughts flooded Luo Feng's mind. Does that mean those indigenous creatures were not born to mothers? That sounds right. They are energy-based life forms, and energy life forms are quite different from others. It seems some indigenous creatures were born in the Ancestral Sea, while some others were born in the Royal Sea. The Ancestral Sea sounds superior. Royal Sea. On my way here, I came across other indigenous creatures. I've heard about this prince, leading over 100 million warriors, who is trying to capture me. The prince has such a high status already, there must be a king or emperor above him. Questions flashed through Luo Feng's mind. Indigenous creatures saluted Luo Feng when they saw him. Luo Feng knew that in this indigenous world, undying great beings were highly respected. In the towering ancient city where countless indigenous residents lived. This ancient city was much larger than the one Luo Feng was touring. It was the home of the prince, as well as several Universe Knight-level generals who had palaces throughout the city, too. The prince wandered into the great palace, frowned, and clenched his teeth. "Damn it," he growled. "Damn it." All his servants quickly had fled, and he was the only one in the palace. They were frightened for their lives. They didn't know why their prince was so furious, but he had already executed 3 servants. They dare to laugh at me. Just because you become a Universe Knight sooner than me. And they think that undying fighter from another race can't get away, that I'm hallucinating. The prince gritted his teeth even harder. As the supreme being of this world, even Universe Knights revered him. Only his brothers dared provoke him. The 108 brothers constantly competed with each other, and his failure to encircle and trap the undying intruder couldn't be kept a secret. Thus, he was mercilessly ridiculed. I was not wrong. I was right. The prince waved his hand. The door closed. The servants outside didn't dare to make a sound. In the palace, a red light dimmed on the huge pillar, soaking the entire palace in a red glow. "Father! Father!" The prince raised his head and shouted, "Please show up, father." An invincible force permeated the palace, and 9 Remoteness world energies started to gather. The servants outside didn't even notice the movement inside the palace as 9 Remoteness world energies gathered, forming a huge, blurry face. "My child," said the giant head, looking down at the prince. "My father," said the prince, giving a salutation. Then he started to complain. "I led 100 million warriors to encircle and suppress an undying intruder from another race, and my warriors killed many undying slaves. Yet the undying intruder must still be alive. I even asked the 300 undying warriors who guard the 9 Remoteness whirlpool at that time. Those who chased him said he was unbelievably fast. The slaves killed afterward were nothing like that. This confirms my suspicions. But. The prince clenched his teeth to prevent himself from stuttering with frustration. The giant head looked down and said in an apathetic voice, "But the Universe Knights under you, and your brothers, all think you're hallucinating, don't they?" "Yes," the prince said. "But you're not wrong," said the giant head. "But neither are they. 9 Remoteness world energies can't detect this intruder, and that's why they think you're hallucinating." The giant head stared at the prince. "But the intruder is indeed still alive." "Alive? Really?" The prince was overjoyed. "I knew it. I knew he was exceptional the moment I learned of his speed." "Exceptional, indeed," the giant head said coldly. "How did he escape my army?" the prince asked. He was curious about it, and it was also the issue his older brothers had questioned him about the most. Under 9 Remoteness world energies, other races can do nothing but show themselves, said the giant head. Yet he eludes the army's efforts to find him. By all accounts, it would appear he has been killed already. You claim that he's still alive, so let me ask you this. How do you surmise that he got away? The prince was bewildered. Because he can disguise himself, said the giant head, looking down. He can camouflage himself as any creature of my 9 Remoteness race. Ah, the prince said. He was excited to discover an answer, though he found it hard to believe. Then we need to kill him right now. How can we let him roam freely if he can camouflage himself? The giant head snorted, and the prince went silent. Although his father cared for him and his brothers, he was innately cold and indifferent. It was enough for him to care for his children. If the princes dared to ask too much of their father, however, they would be punished. Train harder, said the head. If you can become a Universe Knight like your brothers, I can take you outside to adventure." With that, the giant head disappeared. The prince took a deep breath. "How lucky," he muttered. The prince was still in a panic. Realizing he had said something inappropriate, he quickly clamped his mouth shut. Such careless words were grounds for punishment. "Universe Knight," he said. "I'll achieve that. I will." Aggression filled the prince's eyes when he thought about this. It was a determination that came from an infinity of repression. None of the princes were allowed outside Remoteness world unless they became Universe Knights. Luo Feng walked among the buildings. He saw another group of babies playing in front of him. "Come here." Luo Feng waved at one of them. He was the most jubilant and apparently the leader of the group. The baby ran towards Luo Feng and gave a salutation. "Greetings, Undying," said Luo Feng, grinning. "Were you born in the ancestral sea?" "Yes," the baby answered shyly and touched his horn. Luo Feng nodded. Based on what he had learned so far, indigenous creatures born in the ancestral sea were naturally stronger than those born in one of the royal seas. Generally, any who were born in the ancestral sea was automatically a leader. "Tell me about the ancestral sea," Luo Feng said. "An undying fighter, who has never been to the ancestral sea." The baby looked excited, then continued, "The ancestral sea is outside our world. Even if we were born in the ancestral sea, we can't go back once we enter this world. Only if we become undying will we have the chance to go to the ancestral sea through the Remoteness whirlpool." Luo Feng was dazed. Ancestral sea. Remoteness whirlpool. Outside. Is it the Remoteness ocean? Luo Feng couldn't help linking these two together. "The ancestral sea is vast," the indigenous baby continued. "It's boundless and right on top of our world. Rumor has it that it's larger than our world. Ha ha. Those born in the royal seas can't compare to us. There are 108 royal seas, but even the largest royal sea is nothing compared to the ancestral sea." The baby indulged in this grand verbiage, and was obviously proud to be born in the ancestral sea. Luo Feng's heart skipped a beat. The pieces were falling into place. It must be the Remoteness ocean. Remoteness space is actually Remoteness ocean with some islands on it, and Remoteness ocean has bred indigenous life forms. As these thoughts flooded Luo Feng's mind, he remained calm on the outside, saying, "It's not that bad to be born in royal seas. Have you ever been to one of them?" The baby shook his head. "Never." He seemed to perceive the undying fighter in front of him to have been born in a royal sea, and he added, "Royal seas are not bad at all, especially the largest one. I'm still very young, but when I get stronger in the future, I can go there." Luo Feng suddenly understood everything. He can go there when he is stronger. It must be difficult for these indigenous warriors to leave this world to see the ancestral sea again. Since it is easier to see the royal seas, those must be located inside Remoteness world. This video will end here.